Welcome to CK Sports Talk on 99.1 CKXS. CK Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Canada Business Services, the Chatham-Kent Sports Network, and 99.1 CKXS.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to CK Sports Talk here on the Mighty XS. That's 99.1 on your radio dial. This is actually the Victory Ford Lincoln CK Sports Talk, our title sponsor. My name's Peter Cobb, and yes, sitting just over yonder, you know him as the Wizard from Wallaceburg. He is Mr. Shawn, Patrick Moynihan. Mr. Moynihan, we got lots to talk about tonight, but we are thrilled. We're going to talk about something near and dear, and with somebody near and dear to your heart. He is the coaching director of Wallaceburg Lacrosse. The great Jamie Knight is in studio. Jamie, welcome to CK Sports Talk.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to have you here, Jamie. First of all, Pete, for all our listeners, Wallaceburg, historically, is just one of the finest lacrosse hotbeds in the province of Ontario, likely in the country. And if you grew up in Wallaceburg, you had 10 lacrosse sticks in the cloakroom and at the house. You got a new lacrosse stick for Christmas. If you were really lucky, you got I remember one year we got a goalie stick for the household. That was a big deal. And boy, back in the day, we remember the Windsor Warlocks coming into town. The Point Edward Easy Movers, I believe, was the name of their team. The great Jerry Butler, former Maple Leaf, played, I believe, for the Easy Movers. And this town has such a rich history of tremendous lacrosse. The barn and the burg, as we call it, the arena, they just pack them in for tremendous lacrosse. So, Jamie, first of all, congratulations to you and your team for your enthusiasm and for your efforts to really revitalize and keep lacrosse really healthy here in the town of Wallaceburg.
Yeah, it's a big thank you to, obviously, the executive members in Wallaceburg. Chris Dawson, who is huge in the Trillium, getting us a Trillium grant. Rory Smith, Connie and Dave Ordibus. And I know I'm going to forget people, and they'll be mad at me tonight. Maria Moore. But really good people, and they're all there for the same reason, for Wallaceburg Lacrosse and for the success and to help the kids of the community.
Well, I know for a fact, because I've been involved in the past with a couple groups trying to secure Trillium grants. No easy process. I know they advertise Trillium, tremendous amount of money they distribute throughout the province of Ontario. Tell us about a year ago, your tremendous success in grabbing a Trillium grant.
Well, it's hats off to a guy like Chris Dawson, who his son's actually in Junior B, but he's scraping for money for minor. I seen the stack of paper that he put in for, so hats off to him. The money goes to the community, to the arena, to free camps, grow the game for all the kids in Chatham-Kent. Like I said, I seen the binders and stacks of paper. So for a guy like Chris to just put in his own time, I mean, you can't say enough about the guy. Awesome man.
For sure, and it's, as I cannot possibly stress enough, it's a real skill to meander that whole Trillium grant process.
I can't get a Trillium grant like to pay off a mortgage or anything.
No, Peter, you're euchred again.
Okay.
Good try. You can submit the paperwork, but I'm pretty confident I know what they would say to you. Listen, Jamie, I was reading. First of all, you have a ton of camps ready to go here shortly. Let's talk a little bit about them. First of all, let's talk about the camps here in town. Sort of a good news and a bad news story tonight. D.A. Gordon Gym in Wallaceburg, of course, Wednesday nights. They start January 25th. They go to March 29th. Talk to us about those camps.
It is a good and it's bad. The good thing is the camps did fill up. Unfortunately, for people still trying to get in, the gyms are only so big. We can only let so many kids in. But at the same time, I was showing you all the kids that I'd marked in orange that have never really played lacrosse before, and that's the kids we're really trying to expose the game to. It's free. We supply sticks. So it's basically show up and see if you like it before your parents really invest in a sport. You know what I mean? It's people are on tight budgets today, so if they can try it out and say, you know, this is something I'd like to pursue, and that's the whole point of these free camps, is to give kids that shot.
Well, it's incredible. It's free, and you know, Pete, they, you know, for 1 hour they're doing tykes and novices, and the next hour they roll in the peewees and the bantams. And I'm very curious. 8 to 9 p.m. you have a camp for girls 12 to 18. Now, is that one full yet?
No, and so what we're really trying to do in Wallsburg with the girls is we have an intermediate program. Jason Fox, there's Mr. Barco. They've taken on this girls team. So you'll have midget girls playing intermediate and obviously the intermediate girls. And you're finding that girls, like for Pee Wee Bantam, don't have a place to play. So we're trying to run camps for this age group. And who knows, maybe this season we get enough response that we have a Bantam girls team put in Zone 7 this year. And that way every boy and girl in Wallsburg gets that opportunity to play at that zone level.
For sure.
I got to love that, too. And I like how you stress that it's non-contact, too. So, you know, there's going to be parents out there that'll say, oh, geez, I'm not. But no, let's go and see the skill end of things first, right?
Yeah, we really want to teach just the stick work. Like, we want to teach them how to, you know, do things properly before they get on the floor, because when you get on the floor, sometimes you're trying to survive, let alone do all the things that it takes to be a good lacrosse player. So if we could set them in the right direction and they hit the arena when the ice comes out, at least then they have a pretty good idea what to expect, and they're not as intimidated. They feel a little bit more comfortable with what's going on out there. And like for the girls, all we want to do is like make it inclusive. We want it to be fun. There's not going to be coaches there. There's not going to be scouts. So the people there running the clinics just want the girls to come there, try it out in a really like fun, inclusive environment, and see if they like it.
Well, you know, girls rugby in Chatham, Kent has skyrocketed with interest. I mean, I hear at UCC at the Pines, they have 45, 50 girls come out for rugby tryouts. Lacrosse is such a high skill game, speed game, tremendous and eye-hand coordination. Would be fantastic for anyone. Now, you also have another camp. This one really interested me, Jamie. You're running a camp in Chatham. It's 7th annual winter camp at the St. Clair College. Pete, it's at the Healthplex. Sunday mornings, 10:30 to noon. February 5th to March 19th. That's about 7 weeks. Again, free. No contact. Helmet, gloves, running shoes is really all you need. Tell us about that opportunity for kids.
So we want to get outside of Wallsburg and make sure that everybody's getting an opportunity to try the game. I think this is our 3rd year in Chatham. They've always accommodated us with floor time at the Healthplex. So it's a nice big gym. So we can kind of split groups into maybe the younger kids on one side and drill-ready kids that are like possibly throwing and catching or close to it onto the other side, so everybody is like advancing the way they should be at the camp. And we've done really well in Chatham in the past. I'm going to say we had a handful of kids come over from their AAA and AA centers last year. One kid that stands out to me is Brendan McKay. I said to his dad, I went and watched him play, and I was like, you know, that's not a penalty in lacrosse. So he played lacrosse last summer, and he laid a kid out from Sarnia at mid-floor, and he looked at both refs, and their arms weren't up, and he looked at me, and he had the biggest smile on his face. And his mom said to me, you know, you sold lacrosse to my son. He absolutely loves it. And that's what we want to hear, so it's a good thing.
Well, I just love all these camps and opportunities for kids and to introduce them and free, and it's such a great game. Jamie, let me ask you a little bit about, we had Gord Lilly here way back when we started our show over a year ago.
Hey, we're coming up on this June will be 2 years for CK Sports Talk, folks.
Pete, just tremendous. We've had tremendous support here. Had Gord Lilly on, and we loved his enthusiasm, and ironically, I coached Gord when he was a peewee, believe it or not. And I won't mention again that we won an All-Ontario championship that year. But anyways.
You're looking for that Hall of Fame bid. I know it.
Oh, not even close, my man. Anyways, I see the Thrashers are forced to fold. I know they really attempted to fill seats for their executive. I remember talking to Gord last year and just how much of a challenge, not a challenge, but just a real battle to fund and to put a team on the floor. What are your thoughts about, unfortunately, the Wahlsburg Thrashers closing the doors?
I think it's a tough loss for the community, but I could kind of see it unraveling. You're getting a lot of the same people overlapping on executives, and I mean it's really tough to be at the arena that much. It's sad because the kids that are coming out of junior, there's no place really for them to play in this area now. But on the same page, it's great to get these kids back, maybe to do some coaching this year and some volunteering back into Wallaceburg lacrosse. And that's kind of what happened to me. I kind of was at the arena one night in the mix and was like, what am I doing here? Why am I not coaching? And that's kind of when I got started in 1998. And I'm still doing it today. So it's sad in a way that we lost the team, but it's things happen for a reason, and who knows, maybe a couple years down the road we get another team come back to this area.
Yeah. But you can identify that where it's the same people doing all the work, and after a while people simply get tired of it and get exhausted, and they don't see anyone else coming up in the ranks to help, etc., etc. Unfortunate, but I really get a strong sense, Pete, that boy, the rest of Wahlsburg lacrosse is in really good shape. We would be wrong tonight not to talk a little bit about a few of the superstars that have erupted from Wahlsburg minor lacrosse and are now playing at really high competitive levels.
Vancouver certainly has
Tell us
benefited.
about the Vancouver Stealth, and Jamie here in studio is wearing his Vancouver Stealth hat. I got to get myself one of those.
You got to get us an autograph.
Yes, I will.
Tell us about, just for all our listeners across Chatham, Kent, we have kids who are moving on to, as I said, very competitive situations. Talk to us about a few of the superstars out there.
So it's pretty neat to see kids like Zach Haywires. He made his debut for Colorado Mammoth on Saturday night. And Jordan's in his second year with Vancouver Stealth.
Jordan Durston.
Yes. So both kids won back-to-back Bantam Ontario championships in 07 and 08. And I'm glad to say I was part of that. So I'm one up on you there, sir.
Yeah. Hey, listen, to be one up on me in the cross is no big deal there, brother. Okay, it's just so you know.
And Ty Belanger, just to know his story, like he's never really had a firm position in the NLL, so he had to go to Vancouver and earn that spot this year. And Ty did that. He stole the spot from Penny. And Ty made his debut on Saturday night, and he actually was on NLL's page for like Save of the Week. He robbed some guy.
Cool?
So
he's a goaltender to all our listeners.
Absolutely. And Ty puts in the time. Like he'll go over to the lacrosse pad with you during the summer, and there's minor kids shooting on him. He's Jordan and him make themselves exposable to our organization, to all the kids in Wallaceburg, and I think that's huge for all the kids up and coming in our organization. I was saying that it's every 3 or 4 or 5 years, or maybe 10 years, and now you're starting to see it where a kid like Tanner Cole is going to get a lot of attention this year as a second-year midget. He's made Team Ontario twice. Tyler Davis, he's a kid that he's going to be a first-year midget. I'll guarantee you he plays some Red Devils this summer. I could name a few other midgets that are, making that transition. Riley Rowe, Hunter Sanchez. Whereas before, it was like one name where the midget team this year, I would say half those kids are probably capable of playing with the Red Devils, depending on situations and stuff. But that goes a long way with coaches Rick Brown, Todd Knight, Brad DeWagner. They've been with that group since 2011, and they've had success every year with that team. So that bodes well for Wallaceburg lacrosse.
And Shawn, too, and Jamie, a lot of NHL hockey stars were outstanding lacrosse players, too, and they tribute their hand-eye skill and coordination to and physicality to the game of lacrosse.
Well, the great Brendan Shanahan was a fine lacrosse player, I believe, up from Mimico, I think, is where he played. I want to go back to something that you said, and you've won a couple of Ontario championships. And for people out there, to win an Ontario championship is significant if you're the little town of Wallaceburg, because you go to these tournaments with a zillion teams, and you're playing against Six Nations. I remember many years ago when we won, I think Elora at the time was a powerhouse. Orangeville, Whitby, I remember. There was these big, powerful teams. And when the red and white would win a tournament, I just remember how significant that was, because it really was, and it really is, and I'm sure it was in your case too. It's a David and Goliath situation. Just briefly tell us about winning an Ontario championship and the feeling when that buzzer goes and you've crushed a mighty squad from one of the lacrosse powerhouses.
Well, I think even in our zone, we're up against, we're up against the world. We're playing Sarnia, Windsor, and London centers that are so much bigger than we are. So you'll have new people come into Wallaceburg lacrosse, and they'll almost use that as an excuse, like, well, we shouldn't win, but you'll have your hardcore Wallaceburg people that just will not accept losing to those bigger centers. So we're very competitive in our zone. Pee-wees won Zone 7 last year, Bantam, intermediate, and girls. So 4 out of the 7 teams in Zone 7 won our zone last year. And then to get to the next level, there's people don't understand. I don't think they just think, you had all this talent on your team. You had Seth Griffith, you had Jordan Durston and Zach Haywires, and you just don't go win. You need to go work hard. The cards need to fall into place. And I'll tell you, when you win, I honestly think there was more tears than smiles. Like at the time, at first, it's just so overwhelming. And then when you get back to the campground and you get home, then the fun kicks in. But at first, when we won, I think I was just completely overwhelmed. I'd taken my medal off and put it right over my dad's neck. That was
nice.
I planned on doing that even before we won. And then I won Coach of the Year at the Hall of Fame that year. I gave my mom my plaque. I mean, your parents are the people that do everything for you. So for me, they're the people that have been there since I started playing. They don't miss a game, I don't think, of me and my brothers, and we're coaches. And they still go to every game, and my mom's still crazy in the stands. So we're a rich family in lacrosse tradition. Wallaceburg grabbed us at an early age and hooked us, and we love it.
I love it. It's just a great story. I know when we won, and again, folks, many years ago, we won it in Streetsville. And all of a sudden, when you're top dog in the lacrosse universe, it's quite a tremendous feeling. Listen, let's talk about a little bit about if someone's listening out there and is catching the bug and wants to help, wants to volunteer. What type of opportunities might there be for someone out there who might be an old guy like me who played lacrosse and grew up with lacrosse back in the 70s and wants to give you a hand?
I think if people are passionate about lacrosse, there's always room for you on the executive or coaching. If it depends what your interest is, and if you contact myself or anybody on the executive and reach out to them, we are so willing to take people in. Like I said, numbers are usually down when it comes to volunteering. So, we're always willing to take on more people.
And
absolutely.
I would imagine sponsorships also. You're open to sponsorships, and you must have a bit of a marketing campaign to get people to donate and participate.
Well, I think really soon there's going to be a buzz in Wallaceburg about the Red Devils this summer. There's big things going around this town. There's a lot of talk about outsiders coming in.
Right.
There's going to be a little bit of changing on the coaching, on the bench.
About that. I understand.
What's the bench? What can we expect this year? Because we might just get our season's tickets here tonight.
I know.
I wouldn't wait, I'll tell you. Well, I was approached by Justin Durston, who was head coach last year, and some of the boys who I've coached since Pee Wee, like your Bronson Bees, your Corey Luciers, and them boys, and they just came to me and said I was kind of a missing piece of the puzzle last summer, and they thought I should come back, and they offered it to me, so I jumped right at it, and I'm super excited to be on the bench next summer with Justin. I'm going to be co-coach with Justin. Jordan Durston's going to run the offense, and Mr. Joel Shepley's going to run the defense. So I'm not sure you're going to get a better coaching staff than in Ontario. We've been working since September, talking to the boys about expectations, and we've been working a ton on bringing some out-of-towners into the mix, which anybody who's been around here knows. We have a ton of talent, but if we can pick up those 4 to 5 players to bring in to solidify our team, that's what we're really looking at doing right now.
And interesting, you're talking about offense and defense. The game over the years has really evolved and has really changed. You talked before about kids getting an opportunity to hit other kids, etc. It's really not all about the hitting. It's really a speed game. Tell us about some of the rule changes in the last number of years that you've seen, Jamie, that have really sped up the game.
It's funny you had mentioned Gord Lilly, because I wanted to say something earlier. Like, Gord was kind of my idol, somebody I really liked, enjoy watching play growing up. And we still joke to this day, we used to play crossbar, so you get a point every time you. And Gord, he'd let me get the lead on him and then take me out. I don't think he ever let me win. I think the coolest things about the game is what you said. It's not a thug game anymore.
Absolutely.
And Wallaceburg isn't a thug center, which we've had that tag maybe sometimes in the past, where we're developing a ton of superstars come out of this town, and they're not by no means thugs or whatever you want to call them. And we. I take pride in that. Like, I want to make sure that every kid that comes out of our organization, I want them to have the same opportunities the kids from Whitby have, the kids from Orangeville. And when we're playing at them BC levels, and then like the kids that are midget, your Tanner Cole group, that group this year, they have that exposure. They've played at A-level lacrosse, so when they walk into the arena, all the coaches talk to each other. You're kind of all networking, and you're all, it's no different than like your NHL or your NLL. It's copycat leagues. A lot of the teams run the same offense. We're all trying to steal from each other. But for Wallaceburg to dive in the sentence with the Orangevilles, the Six Nations, and those big power centers, to me, it's just it's hats off to a lot of the volunteers in Wallaceburg, the people that put in all that extra time, and then to the kids, because if you don't love the game, it doesn't matter. Like, your coaches can't force you to the tennis courts. You got to want it, and I really feel like that we have a lot of kids in this town that really want to take their game to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very impressive. I'll tell you, Jamie, I just love what I'm hearing. I just love the game. I remember as a young person here in Wallaceburg, remember the first time Six Nations came into town, and there was a tremendous buzz because they were elite. And I remember their goaltender, the great Gaylord Powers, great, big, tall, lean, muscular kid. And I remember that team came in and just ran the floor like I don't think we've ever seen in lacrosse in this town. So the game has really evolved. And, of course, if you watch the Rock games on TV occasionally, you see how it's such a speed, such a finesse game. A game not a whole lot different than, running football plays and picks and screens and things like that. Reminds me a lot, actually, of basketball and setting up offense,
Yeah.
But anyways, well, listen, Jamie, just a delight to have you. I know you have a special event this Saturday. Very smart coming in here. You start our conversation talking about food because Pete is still drooling over there. Talk to us about what's happening on Saturday.
Yeah, so this Saturday we have the Red Devil Chili Cook-Off at the CBD Club from 11 till 3. I believe it's like $5 to get in, which is like That's unlimited chili, I believe, too. It's a great deal. It's a great cause.
You just said the wrong thing.
I hooked you right there, Pete. They have a penny table, and I know Bill Pollock and the Red Devil executive, they've worked their butts off to make the prizes really worthwhile this year. Who knows, you might see some autographed NLL memorabilia up there this weekend.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that, but it's a great cause. It's a great fundraiser for the Red Devils. So, I'd like to see everybody out there on Saturday.
We'll have to really see
if
we
the hosts
can.
of CK Sports Talk are going to be there.
99.1 will go and maybe get a couple interviews
For
and
sure.
a couple of sound bites.
We're also going to be doing minor registration on Saturday at the cook-off, so it's kind of a win-win for people wanting to sign their kid up for lacrosse. Come in, have some chili, sign up junior for the summer, and then after that, we are going to wireless registration this summer. So Wallaceburg Lacrosse and Ontario Lacrosse are finally catching up with the rest of the sports, and everything will be done online registration this year. And if people do have a problem with that, we're always there to help them.
Well, I was reading your website, and I saw the wireless piece happening, the electronic registration, but also on the website offered all types of support and who you can call if you're having difficulties. So that shouldn't deter anyone from catching Red Devil fever. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. I love this topic. I look forward to getting out to some games. And Pete and I just might have to slide over to the Berg for a chili cook-off, but you might want to automatically, when Mr. Cobb enters the room, put a limit, no more than 12 bowls or something like that. But listen, we look forward to talking to you throughout the year and attending some games. And thank you so much for joining Pete and Shawn on CK Sports Talk.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Peter, we better take a break. When we come back, we got to talk a little bit about Chad the Priest, NFL football, some junior hockey, and I might want to mention a little bit about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to CK Sports Talk with 99.1 CKXS. To submit your local sports news, info, or score, email news@ckxsfm.com.
All right, welcome back. Boy, what an entertaining guest, Jamie Knight. That lacrosse this year sounds like I was the announcer for that 2012 season. My nephew and my wife's first cousin's nephew were involved with that team, and I'm going to tell you, they beat that Six Nations club twice in Six Nations. Never been done before.
For sure.
This town was on fire. It was a thrill to be a part of it.
Six Nations has always been such a magical lacrosse center. And I'll tell you, Pete, Jamie, tremendous enthusiasm, no question about it, but also organizational skills, and he has got a team, and they have got a package ready, and boy, I just see such great things from Wallaceburg Lacrosse, and it really brings back a lot of great memories for me.
And chili cook-off, you mentioned, I think the damage that'll be done will be about 8 to 10 hours after that chili enters my system.
That won't be my problem, I'll tell you that. Listen, I know, Pete, you had a chance this past Saturday, to have a little conversation with Chad the Priest, and we're going to talk to him on a future show. But UFC fighter extraordinaire, tell us about that.
You know what? He was at Blair's Boot Camp. That's where this was held. They had kind of a coaching seminar, and he instructed some kids, and he did some autograph session with them. But what a thrill it was to talk. And it was funny, as soon as he saw me, he goes, "Hey, you called all my games, volleyball games on Cogeco." And
volleyball to UFC fighting is just a natural progression.
Yeah, right. You pop somebody through the net, that's for sure. But he was a real delight. And boy, has that kid ever filled out. And what was interesting? He talked about, how nervous he was the first time that he was going out for his first UFC bout. He talked about when he participated in the Nations Cup, where he actually won. He defeated a fellow Canadian because it was Canada versus Australia, but the Canadians whooped all the Australians. So 2 Canadians, he had to beat a real close friend of his to win this contract. But he also talked about his first loss, and he got knocked out in the first round, and he said, "You know what? That was really sobering because I got in my mind, I'm going to roll through this like Grant took Richmond." Mm-hmm. But it's a tough battle.
Well, if you think about that sport, ultimate fighting, a loss means so much. First of all, it can be career-ending. 2 losses in a row, and you drop, possibly to nowhere. So I look forward to doing a more extensive interview with him a little later in the year. And by all accounts, he's such a first-class kid, so we wish him the best.
And we heard our producer, Corey North, mention February 25th, Maple City Cage Fighting. You and I are going to be there.
We'll be there for some interviews.
Oh, my. And that sells out. It really does.
I know.
That place is packed over there at the old former UAW Hall in Chatham.
Well, we'll have a number of interviews. We'll be doing a show around that evening. And, of course, 99.1, big sponsor since the very beginning of that. Pete, on the weekend, you talk about lacrosse and UFC and everything else, NFL football, a couple of heavyweight matches. Your thoughts, your feelings?
Well, first of all, one of them was I was semi-disappointed because Jay Smith and I were locked in the barn last night calling a hockey game, and we did not see a lot of the Dallas Green Bay game, and I had to rewatch the game in an hour. They ran it again, but
right.
Truly remarkable. The Pittsburgh Steelers-Kansas City game was something. New England really showed that they were kind of semi-vulnerable, turnovers that were uncharacteristic of that team.
The key as we move forward here, especially when you get the Tom Brady's and all the big quarterbacks left, the 4 that are left are superstars.
Wow.
Aaron, it's about pressure. Wow. I know that's maybe oversimplifying the game, but you see Brady, when he gets pressure on him, and he got very frustrated a couple times in that game, felt it was a late hit, and he's taken a lot of social media and a lot of shots about that. But some tremendous games, and I found it interesting. They talk about how great Aaron Rodgers is, and he is. He's spectacular.
Oh, my.
But I'll tell you, they should talk about his receivers, because there was several key catches made in that game, including the very last one, that were nothing short of spectacular.
And these were guys, I would think one of the guys' name was Allison, guys I had never heard of, like Jordy Nelson's on
Dante
the side.
Allison, undrafted, I believe from Illinois, number 17, and undrafted. How does an undrafted kid from Illinois make his way as a receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's incredible.
Yeah, and that was the catch the kid made along the sidelines.
Cook,
there.
yeah.
Just incredible. And now Matt Ryan too, like that. The thing that I was impressed with about the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm fired up because I think you're hosting a little get together on Sunday, right?
Sunday we're going to do something special.
Yeah,
it's magical. Game at 3, game at 6:30. I mean,
I know.
Figure it out. This is as good as it gets.
I'll have to tell my wife, honey, hold the phone.
Well, hold on, don't tell her
There'll be
wife.
no conversations. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyhow, and Matt Ryan, but that Atlanta defense really played well. I thought they would be susceptible to Russell Wilson, but they rolled over the Seahawks.
Both sides of the ball, Atlanta, I feel, is a sleeper. And I do, that's going to be a tremendous game up there. Like, it just can't be overstated. But I just want to update everyone. We did do football picks some time ago. Mm-hmm. 6 weeks ago, maybe. And and I don't want to rub it into anyone. I'm not like that too much. But Laurie Leonard, your Cowboys are now gone. Good call on that. Don Leonard chose the Raiders. Nice try, Don. Sparky. Brandon Bennett, my good neighbor, chose the Dallas Cowboys. Dr. Frank Little chose the Kansas City Chiefs, and I thought it was a great pick at the time, but I'm sorry. We still have my good neighbor, Dale Vandermee. She's still alive with the Patriots. Fred Durek is still alive with New England. Tom Baker is still alive with the Patriots. What about Lee here at the stadium? The morning the mid-morning program.
Yeah.
Of course, Lee took Dallas. Who else? Let me take a look here. Peter, you had KC, didn't you?
I did.
My deepest regrets there. And Greg is still alive in the morning program. He has New England. And I don't want to – well, I took Pittsburgh. So
I know
I'm
you
still
did.
alive.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
feeling
huge.
uneasy about it, but I'm still alive. And I won't go into details, but Jay Smith Took the Dallas Cowboys. Jay, I hope you're listening. Nice try out there.
He is. He's on his, I'm sure he's probably coming back from that big Red Wing victory. And, boy, we'll talk a little NHL for a moment, too, later on after a break here.
Why don't we take a break, Pete? And when we come back, we'll finish up with a little bit of hockey talk. We'll be right back with CK Sports Talk.
Because local does matter. This is CK Sports Talk on 99.1 CKXS.
All right, welcome back, CK Sports Talk. We had a great guest in Jamie Knight. We've talked a little bit of NFL football. What else you got?
Pete, we better go to some hockey, and I know you had the pleasure calling just an absolute barn burner last night in Blenheim. Little Junior C hockey. Only about 2 weeks left in that season. Of course, 9 teams in that league. 8 of them make the playoffs. Everyone kind of jockeying for positions, even though it looks like maybe the top 4 are pretty much set. Tell us about that game you called.
It was interesting. Blenheim, there was about a 2-minute period where Blenheim all of a sudden in the first period took over, scored 3 goals, and just the last goal was a power play marker, and it was tic-tac-toe and in the net, and it was Bryce Broad's goal, and what a beauty. And Jay Smith and I were thinking, are they making a statement? Because this is the 1 seed right now and the 4 seed who theoretically, if everything played out, those 2 would match up in the second round.
Right.
Second period comes around. Lakeshore finds their legs. They get a couple of goals, and it's 3-2 at the end of 2. And then Joe Binder, defenseman, who I was really impressed. He was my third star last night. Really impressed with him for Lakeshore. He scored kind of a little fluky, fired from the point, and it just kind of found its way in behind Eric Stewartson. Stewartson was sharp last night, too. Oh, my gosh, he played well. But in overtime, it was normally 4-on-4, but the Blades had a power play, and Austin Bentley absolutely wired a slap shot from the left hash mark, beating goaltender Tatro. And I have to say, I don't like to admit this, but I was kind of like Fonz.
I think the word is wrong.
I was wrong. I thought that when you go into overtime, even at the PGHL Junior C level, each team gets a point. No, you lose an OT, only the winning team gets 2, and that's it. So.
Wow. That Bentley, we saw him play in Wahlsburg here. He was the second star of that game, and that kid has a tremendous shot. Oh, my. He had, from our vantage point there at the arena here in Wahlsburg, we saw that kid take a couple blasts. Well, that's going to be a showdown, right? I think that finishes up January 29th, 30th, last game for everybody. It's going to be great, Pete.
We're calling this Friday. We're going to be in Dresden. We're going to call Blenheim at Dresden.
Always
It'll be
great.
a dandy game. And then the following Friday, our final regular season broadcast, the Wallaceburg Lakers against Dresden. And those 2 teams started the season. They're going to end the regular season going at it.
Well, and we're not going to get into it, but something tells me we're going to hear more about Wallaceburg over the off season. Just a tough year there. We've done a couple games there this year. Mm-hmm. No lack of effort, but it's just going to be interesting to see what develops with that team over the late winter, spring, summer months here, Pete.
You got to be excited about your Detroit Red Wings. The Pittsburgh Penguins come to town, and the Red Wings dismantled them 6-3. I think was the final.
And this afternoon, and I didn't
Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day, and I think it was a 3:00 start in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And in case you haven't heard, everyone, the Red Wings skated off with a 1-0 victory. Both goaltenders, I read, were spectacular. I forget the kid who played for Detroit, but he's their backup that they've called from somewhere.
Well, he might be their starter.
He might
Montreal.
Be. Again, we don't want to overstate it, but there is an expansion draft happening at some point after the NHL season. It's going to be interesting to see who people protects,
right
and you would think a team like Vegas will want to grab a goaltender first. Someone under contract, someone that's not going to cost them a lot of money, a youngster. That's going to be very interesting. But, Pete, I hate to bring up the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't hate to bring it up.
You were actually cheering for them the other night. I almost fell off the couch.
I'm not quite sure about that. But anyways, in their last 10 games, they're 8-1-1. It's incredible.
They really are. They're so fun to watch. I ran into Bob O'Neill. Bob O'Neill, retired school teacher at CK for eons. He's a runner. And we stopped and had a 5-minute conversation. And he said to me as we were leaving, Peter, he said, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 5 to 8 years. These boys are going to be fun to watch. And I thought, boy, he is right on.
Well, nothing like winning. And, Pete, the Capitals did move into first place overall. They're starting to roll, and they dismantled the Philadelphia Flyers. And I tend to follow the Flyers a bit more now because of Travis Konechny, who's had a tremendous first season.
Ontario.
And, Montreal just a point behind them. Columbus and Minnesota are the top 4 point getters right now in the NHL. But pretty incredible. And I understand also, Pete, why we have a chance here tonight. You got some information from the great Nick Wamas.
I did, and I got a text from Nick's mom, and it was really, how it was so cool to, first of all, have him in studio, and we're going to definitely have him back. But I'm going to read the text here. It says, "Hi, Peter. Nick says to say hi to you and let you know that he raced in Milton today," and that's where the beautiful Velodrome track is, a competitive track. They have one in London too, but they are running one race weekend in each of December, January, and February called the Ontario Cup Series. The only races they are running for the sprinters is the Kirin, and you and I know that is, you got to have the heart of a lion to race in the Kirin because you can collide with people and there's crashes. Nick got the bronze medal in today's match, was just past weekend, and he raced in a more competitive category, up a couple age groups because his coach wants him to get a little more exposure. He's in the under 19 category. He's just a kid, so he's going to be competing at that level probably in late January here in February. So
we'll have the
Nick
Bothwell Bullet back in a very interesting sport, highly technical sport. And, of course, he was on our program earlier in the year. And just to see how he has developed such a love for this sport and a passion for it's incredible.
We went for a ride. He and I and my good buddy Bill Vermees showed to Rondeau, and he was toying with us. We were working hard to kind of keep up with him, but it was really cool. He was all dressed in his garb. It was neat.
And Pete, we want to push once again, just as we're going to do a couple shout outs here. Upcoming shows, February 6th, we'll be live at Victory Ford, 301 Richmond Street in beautiful Chatham, Ontario, live with Andy Fantus, number 83 of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, former McGregor Panther, former George P. Vanier Tiger. And he also told me he spent a little bit of time at St. Ursula. So he was a Charger at St. Ursula's, too.
And he had a good career at your alma mater at Western, I think.
He wasn't too bad at the University of Western Ontario and was all Canadian. But anyways, it's fantastic because Andy always gives us such a great perspective of that game. And I really look forward. And, folks, if you're available that night, come on right out and see the show live.
Yeah.
And
get your picture taken with him.
And Sparky, I believe, will be serving snacks in the foyer there, so it should be great.
That's the great Sparky, the retired Sparky Leonard. Now you got to go out and meet Adam Lally, who is the new general manager at Victory Ford.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
What about a shout-out from you? I know this weekend, today's a pretty special day in the Cobb household. Tell us about that.
Well, a calendar year ago, folks, my beautiful granddaughter, Kaylee Elizabeth McEwen, was born. She's a year old. I don't know where the time's gone. And, boy, is she a delight. And I think she's going to be a left-hander. She's been throwing the ball with her left hand.
And I hear she's going to be a Red Wing fan, so this is going to be perfect. Well, teach those kids in sports to use their left hand. And, Pete, I want to do a shout-out. Again, on Sunday morning, I was out cruising around doing a few things, and this radio station, 99.1, Sunday morning, 8 to 11 is the Acoustic Storm. And if you want to listen to an outstanding program, classic rock and acoustic form, Eric Clapton, everyone, just fantastic show. I really encourage all our listeners to tune that in Sunday mornings, 8 to 11, the Acoustic Storm on 99.1.
All right. Well, it's been a tremendous show. And for our very special guest, the coaching director of Wallaceburg Lacrosse, Mr. Jamie Knight. For my partner in crime over there, Mr. Shawn Patrick Moynihan, you know him as the Wizard from Wallaceburg. For our producer, right over my left shoulder here, the great Corey North, who'll be heading south to Ridgetown, that is. My name is Peter Cobb, saying so long.
Thanks for listening to CK Sports Talk. Tonight's show is brought to you by Canada Business Services, the Chatham-Kent Sports Network, and 99.1 CKXS. For more local sports news and information, log on to the Chatham-Kent Sports Network at cksn.ca.
99.1